Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf. NIDAH Samach Gimel. We're on top of the Yom Ezeu Tafel V'chul. So back to the Mishnah, where we had the list of 7 cleansing agents, 7 detergents, which can be applied to a stain, which if it gets removed or even faded by these detergents, that will determine for us that in fact it was a blood stain. It was dam nidah. So the first item on the list is roik tafel. Roik is saliva, tafel means raw. Tafel is used to describe an unsalted dish. And likewise over here means unadulterated saliva. Tana, we're going to Nebraisa. What does this mean, roik tafel? Kol shaloi tam klum be'erev. The fellow hadn't eaten anything from nighttime. So it's fresh, raw saliva, unaffected by any foods, which retained its potency and strength and can be used to treat the stain. Savar Papa Kamedi Rabba Lemei Papa in front of Rava suggested, he thought Mi Be'erev means from the previous night he's fasting. Commando Amar, like a person says, Lo Yitam Midabut, he hasn't tasted anything since the night. So throughout the night into the morning. Amali Rava, no. Not that far back. Miktani Be'erev, does the Brisa say he hadn't eaten anything since nighttime? Mi Be'erev Katani. So meaning during nighttime he ate. It's just from when the night was over until now. Meaning no breakfast. But he had dinner last night. Lafuki as opposed to, right? So Be'erev means he didn't eat throughout the night. Mi Be'erev Katani. It says from when the night was over until now. Lafuki as opposed to Heichad Kadim V'achal, as opposed to a fellow got up early and ate breakfast. So roik tafel is untouched, unaffected by breakfast. Amar Rabba, Bar Bachana, Amar Bechran. Ezeu roik tafel. What qualifies as roik tafel? Kol she'avar olav chatzois laila b'shina. He went through midnight, ubeshina, in a sleeping state. So that gives it its special status. Remember, Dimita said the b'shina talimilsi has to be sleeping for the roik to qualify, but nan or ba'atanya, we have a brisa, it's unrelated to sleep or wakefulness. It's related to the time, day or night. Yoshin kol hayom, suppose he was asleep all day with jet lag from a big trip, he's sleeping all day. When he wakes up, he doesn't have roik tafel, ain't a roik tafel, because it's daytime. Neir kol halayla. On the other hand, if it was throughout the night and he was awake, there is a roik tafel. In the morning, he has roik tafel. Apparently, sleep is not a precondition. This fellow wasn't fully awake. He was sort of half dozing. That also qualifies and will generate roik tafel. How do you qualify misnamnim? Omar of Ashi, nim v'lo nim. He's sort of asleep, but not really fully asleep. Tir, he's awake. V'lo tir, not fully awake. Somewhere in the middle, hovering between sleep and wakefulness. The kari levani. For instance, you call him, hey Yasel, he said, but he still cannot respond with something that needs deep thinking. He can't respond with a svara. But if you would jog his memory, you remember that deep point? So he can't initiate something deep, but he can relate to it to some extent. So that's still enough to qualify. And if this happens throughout the night, in the morning he has roik tafel. Tana, we learned in the Brisa. Not only does breakfast deactivate the roik, but even an abundance of speech. Tana hishkim mishana pirka, gets up early and he starts learning. Ein ze roik tafel, so the speech will weaken, will dilute the saliva. Vadkam, how much speaking? Amar Vita Bar Shila, Amar Ashim, Amar Reb Lazar. The amount of words that a person typically speaks in 3 hours, so the majority of that number, Kol sheyatza roiv dibur shel shayis, he expressed. Most of the words that can be expressed within 3 hours, which is typically spoken in Asul Adaber, Rashi says b'shalosh shayis, so most of that will have a diluting effect on the roik. Okay, so we now know the first item on the list, roik tafel, needs to be fresh saliva, unaffected by food, by too much talking. he has to have gone through the night in a somewhat sleeping state, and then in the morning, bingo, he has roik tafel for the stain. Make grisen, leisas grisen shall pull. The next item is the juice of the chewed. Grisen are half beans. Pull is the full bean, and a grisen are split. So you choose that, and you have make grisen, which sounds like it must be accompanied by saliva, right? So it sounds like saliva is meant to go along. Leima mesel Rish Lakish. Perhaps this proves Rish Lakish's point. Amar Rish Lakish, roik tafel isn't only its own detergent, it's also something which must accompany the other ones, such as the grisen, which have to be chewed through and mixed with that saliva. They have to accompany all the other ones as well. Well, says the Gemara, no, maybe it's not the saliva that's doing the trick. It's the warmth, the humidity in the mouth that has the effect on the grisen, but it's not the saliva per se. Now, Masnisim Lekab Yehuda, the Mishnah that speaks about chewing the grisen to create, is unlike Rabbi Yehuda's recipe. The Sani Rabbi Yehuda make grisen roitseach. The grisen aren't chewed, rather it's been cooked up. That is the grisen that we use. V'oiver, and he adds v'oiver, and it's prior to adding salt. It has to be raw, unseasoned. Shitan seichem melach. V'oiver means before, precede. My mashma, what do we find elsewhere? The high that this word oiver means lishna dagdumiyut. It's an expression of preceding, a preceding event, going ahead of something. We have three sources. Amakra, the first pasuk is Vayar Zachimatz, there Hakiki ran through the square, Vayavar, and he went ahead of Esakushi. Abaya Omar Mihacha, different pasuk. Vuavar Lufneim, Yaakov Avinu went ahead of his family. Or you have another source. Vayavar Malcolm Lufneim, Basham Baroisham. So the king went ahead. Oiver means to go ahead. We have the putrid wastewater. How long do we have to wait for it to beget the hachmatzah, this acidic state? Tano, kamachimutzon, shloisha yom, 3 days old. Omar B'Yechanan. But we still don't know 100% exactly how to generate the what exactly is needed here, because there are unknown elements as well. Who's meraglaim? Of a young man, of an older man, woman, covered, like Omar B'Yechanan kol shiur chacham iksam and tzarich shiur and oldi shiurim. So even though we do present some guidelines and parameters to the stain removal items, but tzarich shiur, we have to add more guidelines, more parameters l'shiuran to the ones already established. Meaning, question: the miraglayim. We know it has to be 3 days old, but from a young man, from a younger person, or the or an older man. Rashi says the older one, ma'alot fei, perhaps is better, is stronger. The isha, man or woman, covered or uncovered, from summer or winter. So these are at this point as yet unknown. So the stain must be scrubbed 3 times with each one of these agents. Now, typically when we scrub, we go to, right, and fro, back and forth, right? So 3 times means 3 times back and forth, or each motion, each direction is considered 1 for a total of 3. Going forward, basui, and coming back, that double scrub. Chad is 1, it's 1 set. Or amtuyi basui to each direction is separate. So to and fro is 2. Which way is this take? Havinush like a sidra. Now these stain removers will only work if they're done in sequence. First 1, then comes the second, all the way to 7. But if it's out of order, or in reverse, it's not a true indicator of anything, because it won't work that way. So let's say he has all 7 lined up. Let's just split into 2 right now. 2 categories. 7 is split into 3, 1, 2, 3, and then comes another set, another group of 4, 5, 6, and 7. So first you meant to do 1, 2, 3, and then comes the next group, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Let's say he flipped it. Hiktim shneim, he took the set, the group of 4, and did it first. L'rishain before the set of 3. Tani chada. So one brisa says shneim aluloi. Rishonim loy ololoy. The second set works, but not the first ones, because he reversed. He did the group of 4, which is meant to be second. He did it first. That doesn't count. Rishonim loy ololoy, but the ones that followed, 1, 2, 3, okay, that can be used for the next sequence. Just continue on, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's pretty straightforward. But NIDAH, we have another brayso, which actually words it the other way around. Rishonim ololoy, the first ones work, which is surprising. Shneim ololoy, not the second group. Abaye, how to explain this? So Abaye, really, there's no machlokes. It's just a different reference point. Both braysos agree. Shneim ololoy, Rishonim. It's only the second group that works. The 1, 2, and 3 to begin the next sequence of 7. Of course, that's on the record. But not the ones that he actually did first. The first group of 4, obsolete. My Rishonim, what does the brayso mean when it says the first ones worked? It means the second, but it's calling it the first. Rishonim Sidron. They were meant to go first. Of course, Ushnim, it so happens to be that there was second Labarasan to actually being applied. Okay, so bottom line is, he meant to do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Let's say he does the group of 4 before the 3, so that's out, and he picks up from where he left off. So the 1, 2, and 3 are good. 4, 5, 6, and 7 has to be added to complete that sequence. Okay, so we learned about the ingredients required for testing of the stain and removing of the stain of the dam nidah. We have roik tafel, fresh saliva from a sleepy night, unbreakfasted and unspoken. We have the megrisin, two definitions, either chewed or cooked. The meraglayim, 3 days old, and we need a 3-way scrub, and of course, provided they're done in order and sequence. Continues the Mishnah. Kol isha sheyesh la vest dayashat. A vest is a regular trigger, which triggers the isha's period. Now, it can come in many forms. It can be calendar related. So every 25th of the month, Hanukkah, right? Every 25th of the month, we have dam coming. Or it can be calendar related, but a bit different. More in terms of a stretch of time. So every 30 days she'll see. Unrelated to the calendar per se. Then we have personal triggers. Every time she exercises, etc. We also have sort of third-rate triggers, which aren't so personal, more like dietary. She's known to see dam when she eats, a certain type of food, garlic, etc. So an isha who has this sort of anticipated schedule, she knows that XYZ triggers dam. In this case, it's sufficient for her to be concerned about her dam as soon as she sees it going forward, as opposed to the standard takana we learned it back in the phase of meis la'es. If she sees dam today, we're concerned going back 24 hours, perhaps the dam is already there somewhat. No. In this case, this event is what triggers the dam. Let's presume what you see is what you get, and it wasn't there before. Examples of vestais are as follows. She stretches, does exercise, which is known to trigger the dam. Sneezes, or she feels some sensation in her belly or further down. Or a woman who's already discharging. The Gemara will ask, we're assuming that she's seeing dam. Well, if she's seeing dam all the time, then she's in any case a NIDAH at all times. Another example, she's gripped by some sort of fevers when she expects her period. And likewise, similar phenomena. In all these cases, is a vest. If it happened 3 times, that's a true indication that in fact this is a regular trigger, and she's considered ishiyesh levest. Now the Gemara will explain that the number 3, this thrice repetition, isn't always required, depending on how closely linked, how pronounced the events are. We'll see in the Gemara. In some cases, even 1 time, some twice, some require 3. Depending how strong of an indicator it is. Tanina Chadazimna asked the Gemara, why even discuss this again? We had it back on Daf Beis when we started the Masechta, right? Remember, Kol Ish Yesh Lavest, Ayashot, a woman that has an expected pattern, expected schedule. And then Dayashata. What's the repetition about? Some Vestas to Yomi, different types of Vestas. There it was about calendar-related Vestas. On this day of the month, as Rashi says, Kigoy mitezvav etezvav, every 15th day, or every 15 days, in between period. Here we add a new category, a new grouping of Vestas. Body, physical, personal related Vestas. The Mishnah prints it out for us. Eloin Vestas, right? All these physical experiences which are known to trigger dam, ma'ateshes, v'chosheshes, v'kresa, u'v'shipulimeya, v'shefas. Now comes the big question, v'shefas, hashafa v'azlav, she's seeing all the time, then what do you mean vest? Vest means there's a regular, schedule, anticipated and expected time for the arrival. Oh, she's seeing all the time. Amar ula breder v'loy. No, she's not saying dam tummy all the time. Of course not. B'shefas, return Talmud Bavli. Dam tummy mitech dam tohar. Before she has a regular period, the preceding event is dam tohar. She sees some sort of discharge, some sort of liquid, which is a heralder of the upcoming period. It also qualifies as a vest, as an indicator for what's coming. So after listing specific, symptoms and conditions, Mishnah adds, likewise, which is coming to cover another unmentioned, phenomenon. What's it coming to cover? Indicators which are less powerful. To cover isha shiroisha kaved, a woman whose head is heavy on her, she has some sort of general feeling of weakness as she's about to see her period. Her body's sort of heavy, very sesses, she's quivering, yawning. So all these are, qualifying vestas, but as we're going to see in a minute, they're not as powerful, indicators as the other ones. Amar Rav Huna bar Chiya bar Shmuel. In fact, we have three categories regarding, levels of vestas and how soon, how often they have to happen to be considered established indicators. Hari Amru. In fact, the Chum taught us liyam mishnayim. If it's a calendar-related vest, she's known to see every 25th. Twice is enough to establish that. So once it happens twice, it's an established track record. Levestes achas. But regarding matters of personal vestes, personal bodily symptoms, those are more closely linked, more closely related triggers. Even once is enough to establish a vest. Regarding those other indicators which were not actually expressed by the Chachamim in the Mishnah, so there are lesser indicators. For that, we need 3 times to really establish a shloisha. What's that coming to cover? What we just mentioned before, general weakness, etc. What is that covering? Which are weaker indicators, in order to really establish it as a foolproof vest, she needs to do it 3 times. And then you have it as an established vest. Abaye responded to Rabbi Yosef, my kamash malan. What's the big chiddush of the Chachamim in telling us that on this third, rate vest, it needs 3 times? Masnisni, we had a Mishnah a minute ago. Do Pirsha Rabbi Ra'ula. It was explained to us by Rabbi Ra'ula that the term V'chenke Yitzeben covers those third-rate vestes, and the Mishnah clearly says you need 3 times. Therefore, Abaye says, look, I'm going to expand it a bit. Lasui achlo shum. It's going to cover another category, which shares, similar status to the third-rate category we just discussed. Dietary triggers, which are sort of relatively external. So they qualify as vestes, but they need to happen 3 times in order to become a vest. Lasui achla shum v'rasa, a woman who ate garlic and saw dam as a result of achla b'tzalim v'rasa, or garlic, or onions. Kisa pilplim v'rasa, kasa pilplim, she chewed some peppers v'rasa. Okay, so in conclusion, what qualifies as a vest? Well, we have 3 different levels of vest. We have something called vest haguf, very profound, pronounced symptom. vahekes, mateshes, all those, even one time qualifies as a vest. You see that this triggers dam, or this is an indicator of the oncoming period. It's an established vest. Something which is calendar related, so it's a bit less personal, a notch lower, twice. If it's something a little bit more external than that, like general weakness, which isn't necessarily directly linked, it's not such a profound, an obvious link and trigger, or dietary elements, so these require 3 times. So it has to be established by having it done 3 times. Amar Rav Yosef. So Rav Yosef says, interesting statement from Shmuel to differentiate between different types of vestos. This takes once, this takes twice. We know Rav Yosef fell ill and he forgot a lot of his learning. He said, I don't recall. Interesting. Never heard of this interesting halacha. Abai would respectfully, Abai was a Talmud, he would respectfully jog his memory and restore his self-esteem, self-confidence, and he would say, look, you yourself taught it to us. You, Rebbe, taught it to us. And you taught it to us in the following Mishnah, coming up later in today's daf. Mishnah says like this. Suppose she had a regular pattern to experience dam every 15 days. And 1 month she switched. Until day 20. Since she had 15 as an established vest, she doesn't lose that. She's still bound to that day. So day 15, the next time, day 15, she has to refrain from her husband because perhaps she'll see dam. And likewise, day 20, which has been introduced into her life, and perhaps that's going to take on the new Yom HaVest status, so she has to be concerned about both days. Let's say she diverted 3 times to day 20. That frees day 15. So going forward, day 15 is now free because she eradicated that track record. And now she established for herself day 20. This is the rule. A woman cannot establish a vest unless it happens 3 times. And by the same token, it undoes the previous vest. End quote. And you yourself, Rav Yosef, added to that Mishnah in the name of Shmuel. Amar Bidamar Shmuel. Zu divrei Rabbi Gamliel. This is who speaking? Rabbi Gamliel, the son of Bar Rebbe. Shamar was quoting Mishum, the name of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, who typically requires 3 times to establish a chazaka. Famous machlokes between Rebbe, who says twice, just a mere repetition, is sufficient to establish a track record of chazaka, whereas Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel requires a 3rd time to establish chazaka. So that's why it's only considered a newly established vest if it happened 3 times. 3 times on day 20, she has her vest. Aval Chachamim disagree. They don't require 3 times. Ru'asa, if she saw just 1 time, Eina tzricha lo l'shanois, lo lishnois, v'lo l'shalish. She need not repeat, or certainly 3 times. 1 is enough to establish a vest. Now, the obvious question was, and we asked you, this is Rabbi speaking, Rabbi speaking to Rav Yosef. After your presentation, 1's enough. We don't need 2 or 3 times. Well, if 2 is not needed, then certainly 3 times. Isn't that redundant? We asked you. Once you told us that 2 is not needed, 1 is enough, then of course you don't need 3 times. But it goes without saying that 3 is not needed. You explained to us. It all depends on the type of vest that we're trying to establish. Depends how apparent. Depends how closely linked it is to the period. Alon. Lishnes bevestis. When I said that twice is not needed, which means to say a single episode is enough to establish a vest, that's by those strong personal expressions, those personal vestes, what we call vest haguf, exercise, right? All the personal indicators, one is enough to establish a link. When I said you don't need it 3 times, which indicates that twice is needed, that's by the next ring of vestes, l'shalish b'yom. That's when it's calendar related, which isn't so personal, isn't so direct. So in that case, one is not enough to really establish a track record. You need to have it at least twice. Then you have a vest. Okay, so in any case, Abaye pointed out to Rav Yosef that you yourself, Rav Yosef, taught us the same point. That in terms of how many times are needed to establish a vest, it all depends on the type of vest. The more personal, the less you need. Now the question is, v'neim wazu dir Reb Shimon Gamliel. Back to the quote of Shmuel quoting Reb Gamliel by Rebbe, who quotes, why go through all those steps? Why doesn't he just say, Zu divrei Rabbi Shimon Gamliel? The requirement of 3 times is Reb Shimon Gamliel, which is a well-known opinion, that 3 make a chazaka. Why do you have to relate it to Reb Gamliel, quoted Rebbe? How come Ashmon? The reason why he related to Reb Gamliel Rebbe, how come Shmuel was teaching us that Reb Gamliel Rebbe, that Reb Gamliel, the son of Rebbe, Reb Shimon Gamliel is aligned with Reb Gamliel's shita, which is important to know. That in fact, he goes with that opinion. The chazaka needs 3 times. Okay, so in conclusion, we learned about the concept of a vest. Isha that has a vest, so in a way, she has a discount. Daya shata. We'll see in the next Mishnah that actually it comes along with an obligation as well, because at the time of vest, since she's prone to have dam, she has to conduct herself accordingly. But in any case, first for the kula, we discount the back concern, the me'es le'es concern, because we presume as soon as the vest showed up, the dam comes along, and it wasn't there until now. Examples of vests are, well, we have 3 types. Vest haguf to start, the exercising, the sneezing, all that, which are actually physical, strong physical indicators of preceding events preceding the period, in which case, Gemara says even 1 time. Once you have that linkage, even 1 time establishes a vest. We have vestes of yomim, calendar related, day of the month, or the lapse of time between periods. For that we need twice to establish a vest. And then we have the third group of weaker vestes, overall weakness or dietary related, in which case you need 3 times to establish a vest. It says the Mishnah. Hoisa limuda. So limuda means that she was accustomed, she had a track record. Hoisa limuda li'isroi b'tchilas ha-vestes. She had a vest. And let's say, the vest, let's go with the first one, exercising. So the exercising session at the gym is 45 minutes. And she typically would see at the beginning of that session. As soon as she begins stretching, she sees the dam. Right? Sometimes it came in the beginning, sometimes a woman would have it come at the end only. She was known to have it at the beginning. So we assume dam arrived at that point, and therefore call it taharis. All taharis materials that she interacted with, is throughout that workout period, Tmeya is because it's presumed that she already had her dam at the beginning of that experience. Conversely, b'seif vestes, if she was accustomed to seeing the dam at the end of her exercise session, so until that point she's safe. Whatever she did during the stretching period, atahiris. Not only when it comes to vestes haguf, can we split hairs? Af yamim v'shois vestes. Likewise, when it comes to calendar-related vestes, so it doesn't necessarily write off the whole day. She's known to have seen, every 20th of a month, at the 6th hour. 6th hour means, let's say the day starts at 6, So when she gets to 11 o'clock, from 11 to 12, that's her vest. So only that hour is in question. Af yam v'shoyis vestes. For example, let's say her vest was to see at sunrise. So the preceding night she's free and clear. It's only the time of Netzach Chama, which is in question. But past that point, again, she's okay. If she knows she hadn't seen. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. He says that the Isser covers the whole oina. The oina means the unit of time, the time frame, which is either a full day or a full night. So the oina of the vest, oina that the vest falls out in, is also asr. Versus Rabbi Yossi, who says only the fragment of time which she is accustomed to seeing, only that's covered, only that's asr, but the rest of the day is okay. Rabbi Yossi says no, the whole day is affected. Tana, we learned in a brayso that explains this further. Keitzad and Rabbi Yossi yomim v'shoyis vestes. How do we apply Rabbi Yossi's concept that vest applies to days and the hours within that day? For example, she would see every 20 days, but not the full day. She had a very specific schedule, very uncommon today, a specific day, a specific hour. She would see at the 6th hour. Every 20th day at 6 hours. Okay, so according to Rabbi Yehuda, we pivot back to Rabbi Yehuda for a moment before we go back to Rabbi Yossi, who's more limiting in his coverage. Rabbi Yehuda says it covers the whole day. So once the day 20 arrives, she's asur from the first hour. Rabbi Yossi, according to Rabbi Yossi, she's okay until 11 o'clock. And she has to refrain from her husband during that hour, but not past. Once that hour is gone, it's chatzois, without siding dam. What happens then? So now we pivot back to Rabbi Yehuda once more before we go back to Rabbi Yossi. Asur l'shamesh kol hayim kuli Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is asur throughout the day because Rabbi Yehuda says the whole day, the whole oina is asur. But Rabbi Yossi matter when Rabbi Yossi, once mincha time arrives, which is when the sun starts leaning towards sunset, which means from 12 o'clock and on, she's mutter because the Isser is limited to the 11th hour from when the clock strikes 11 until 12. Hoyse l'muta. Suppose the vest was during Netzach Chama. Rabbi Yehuda says that the following day she's okay, but the previous night, which is when the vest falls in, she's asr. Vatani b'ava brayso Rabbi Yehuda omer kol layla shelo. Rabbi Yehuda seems to say differently than the Mishnah. He says kol layla shelo. Her whole night is okay. It's the day that's asr, which is exactly the opposite of our Mishnah, which says the following day is okay, but the night is asr. The question is like this. The answer is like this. When we speak about the dam arriving by Netzach Chama, Netzach Chama stretches over some time. It could be the beginning of Netzach Chama, which is still the end of the night, or it could be a bit later, which is the beginning of the day. When exactly did this happen? When the Brisa here says that by day she's asr, and by night she's mutter. So let's just frame it. She has a regulus to see Netzach Chama. Let's say Netzach Chama of Monday morning. So if the derech was for her to see Tchilas Yimama, as soon as it's legally day, right? As soon as the sun rises, so her oina is daytime, and the whole day is covered, versus the previous night, Sunday night, which is mutter. But our Mishnah speaking the regular lyrics b'seif leilya. When we say Netzach Chama, it doesn't mean after sunrise. It means as the sun is about to rise, the end of the night. So the night is really affected, and she's also throughout the night. And mutter, Monday morning. Tani Chada. Now comes another brayta which seems to contradict within Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Tani Chada, one quote of Rabbi Yehuda is like this: Rabbi Yehuda Oisra Lifnei Vesta. Quote Rabbi Yehuda, she's forbidden before the vest, before the time of the the appointed time. But afterwards she's mut. Another brayso which goes exactly the opposite. She's also after the expected arrival of her period. And we would allow her if beforehand, like Hashem. Again, the answer is like we said before. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's the oinas havest. It's that time zone of the vest, which is usher. But it depends when the vest will fall out. Like Hashem. If she typically sees at the end of the night, so it's the tail end of the night, and the night is considered oinas vesta. So she's also before the vest, but once daybreak arrives, Monday morning, she's okay, because the rest is past. Versus the other brisa, where she typically sees the beginning of the day, as daybreak happens. So in this case, she's mutter prior, throughout the night, but asr throughout the next day. Amar Rava, halacha is Rabbi Yehuda that the whole time frame, the whole oina is asr, not just the moment of vest. Halach Rabbi Yehuda. Umi Amar Rava, that's all that according to Rava, it is so. Vatani, we have a brayso. Vizartem es bnei Yisrael tumasam. Vizartem here means to separate bnei Yisrael from the tumah, and we learn. And later on, the pasuk speaks about a NIDAH, so we connect it. And we say, look, in terms of NIDAH, it's not just once she's already tummy. You must take precaution, says the Torah. Mikan, based on this pasuk, Amar Rav Yirmiyah Azhara, Bnei Yisrael, there's a warning to Bnei Yisrael. Sheyifreshum is the same. They should separate from their wives a bit before they expect trouble. Samach levestan, near the vest. V'kam, how far back? Amar Rava Oina, an extra unit of time. My love. Now the Gemara is assuming Oina achrita. He meant to say, in addition to the oina of the vest itself. Let's say the vest is expected Monday by day. And on top of that, you have also Sunday night off. Loi! Oisa oina. He meant only that oina. The oina of the actual vest, not prior. So basically, Rava is very consistent with his earlier statement, Halach Rabbi Yehuda, that the oina of the vest is asr. Now the question is, why the repetition? Why does he have to say it twice? Here he says, you have to separate the oinas havest, and earlier he says, Al Yuda, likewise. Each one has its point. Because if only from the first statement, aligning ourselves with Rabbi Yehuda to forbid the oinas havest, I would say it's specific to taharis issues. If she touched a banana, or she touched an apple, when it comes to interacting with her husband, perhaps, is no issue, even though the oinas havest, as we find back in the beginning of Al Masechta, the whole tomb of Meis Leis is specific to taharis, which have higher standards. Kamashman comes the second quotation of Rava, which relates to the pasuk of Izarta b'nei Yisrael, to keep away from their wives, which relates to husband-wife relationship. That oinas havest is meant to be observed as well. Kamashman. Okay, that explains why he needed that presentation. If only from that second presentation, I would say Samach Lavesta, Oina Achriti. The term Samach Lavesta discussed in that brisa means, in addition to the Oina of the vest itself, the preceding Oina is Asr as well. Kamashman Oisa Oina. Hence we have the statement Halach Rabbi Yehuda that only the Oinas havest itself is included, but not the Oina prior. Of course, we know in Halacha there's a Shita or a Ruah that covers even the prior Oina, which is a chumrah on top of the actual halachic requirement of oisa oina. Okay, so in conclusion, so in this mission we learned the flip side of having a vest, that even though she hadn't yet experienced dam, she is considered to be off limits, asr, regarding taharis, regarding her husband, for a very real concern that in fact her dam would arrive as soon as these triggers have been reached, have been experienced. And the question is, to what extent, how far do we expand the vest? Rabbi Yossi says only that specific hour, not prior, not after. Rabbi Yossi says it's going a bit too narrow. You have to expand it to an entire oina, which means to say if the vest is during daytime, that whole day is treated accordingly, and likewise during a nighttime vest. Okay, all the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.